Alrighty, yo, what is up, Knights? Aegis Rick here, bringing you guys episode 6 of the Arad Airways podcast. Now, guys, it's been a little while since the last episode. I was doing pretty good at the start of this year when I made it a resolution to do this. It's getting close to the end of the year now, and this is only my, I think, 6th, maybe 5th or 6th episode of the Arad Airways podcast. There was all kinds of stuff I could have talked about, and that's kind of the thing with these podcasts, is that I have to remain topical on the topics that are going on, and if I miss it, if I don't have a chance to sit down here and talk about it, then I've just kind of missed my chance, and that's happened several times. In fact, real life really, honestly, guys, is not so kind. I don't do this for a living. This is kind of whatever I can do after, long days at work sometimes, and, I still have to try to get my dailies in and spend whatever small time I have to making videos and or playing the game or whatever I can do. I'm limited in time. If I wasn't so limited in time, then these kinds of things would be more consistent and stuff like that, like they were in the past. When I wasn't working, when I was in school and stuff, this was a lot easier. Not the case anymore, so can't commit to a schedule. Again, like I said, this isn't my day job, just something I just do for fun. So I apologize, but that's the best I can offer for you guys. So yes, it's taken this long, but we're here at episode 6 of the Arad Airways podcast, and we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, guys. But before that, I think I want to change the format of the Arad Airways podcast. Yet again, I know I mentioned what the format was going to be, but this time I want to make it more so that it doesn't have to rely on me being talking about it right when it happens. It gives me a little bit of time to, a little bit of leeway. So here's how it's going to work now, guys. I'm going to have different segments, and hopefully I can cover, it's basically going to cover the same segments that I've always been covering in the Arad Airways podcast. First and foremost, we're going to talk about current content, okay? We're going to talk about what's currently, maybe new stuff that just got added in the game, anything that's in the game currently. I want to just spend one segment talking about that. Okay, the next segment I want to also make sure I cover at least once in the Arad Airways podcast is the future content. Okay, so that could be stuff that could be coming next patch or in the future patch, or stuff that just released in KDNF, which I've been doing pretty consistently in these podcasts. And the last thing I want to talk about is just either a controversy or something that's just real that may be outside the game, or maybe just an extra segment. So we'll have 3 segments every podcast, and I'll make sure I try to vary it up so that there's different kinds of topics we talk about, because there is a lot of controversy and stuff going on outside the game if you really look for it. Not that I participate all the time, but it's interesting nonetheless. But anyway, guys, this patch, we've got a lot of stuff, okay? Well, our current iteration, our current update that we just got was the twofold. It was Raid Reworks and the Beast Dungeon, which by now I think I've already uploaded the update video for it. I didn't miss a few topics, but that's because I intentionally missed them so I can talk about them in the in this Arad Airways podcast. So we'll be definitely talking about that. The future content, I want to talk about the jump server, okay? I want to talk about, because this is a huge topic. We're getting a jump server on the November 6th. I probably should have mentioned that in the update video, but it was already rendered and I forgot. On November 6th, we're getting the jump server, and this is huge, basically. We'll get to that. And lastly, I want to talk about, there was a thread on Reddit. It received a lot of feedback. It wasn't really a controversy, just kind of outside people talking about various classes in the game, and that was the thread of what are some popular or overhyped classes that you never understood or saw the appeal of. And I thought this was an awesome topic because I talk about this kind of stuff all the time, okay? I mentioned this, I just mention classes all the time. I talk about classes in the Blitz series. I shit talk classes on the stream. I do this all the time, so it's kind of interesting. We're going to kind of comb over that thread as well. So anyway, that's what's going to be in this podcast, so let's go. All right, first things first, guys. I think one of the biggest stuff that we got that kind of applies to the widest range of people is the Raid Reworks, okay? This is both Anton Raid and Luke Raid, as well as any of the in-between intermediate stuff, like Anton normals as well as Luke normals, because they're kind of intrinsically tied to one another. You don't have to do Luke normals, but it would be very beneficial to do both Luke normals and Luke Raid at the same time, because you can use the items that you get from Luke normals and upgrade your Raid gear a lot faster. The same thing with Anton, you can upgrade the gear a lot faster if you're doing Anton normals along with Anton Raid. So they're kind of intrinsically tied, and they've made all of that just across the board. They've made all of that easier. Again, I don't want to go into all of the mega details like, okay, this is the strat, but suffice it to say, guys, I have never, okay, I take that back. When Anton normals came out, Anton Raid was not a thing. So the best in slot gear was like the gigantic present set. And so back in the day, we used to, just kind of how we do for Raid, we used to set up these trains where we'd go, you know, okay, we're going to do all of Anton Normal, swap characters, do all of Anton Normals, and we're going to do that every single day. We're going to do it at the same time, and, you know, we're going to get our GP sets. And that was years ago, okay, before Anton Raid even existed. That was years ago. That, my friends, is the last time we ever did Anton Normals, okay? Because once Anton Raid came out, it's just like, well, you know, there's better stuff now, and we're strong enough to do it. Fuck Anton Normals, okay? We never did it again, and there really wasn't a real reason to, okay? GP did nothing if you got a stronger set than GPs, and then there were obviously 90 cap, and really there was no real reason to do it. Same thing, I would say, for me personally, was Luke Normals, okay? There was a lot of reasons why other people did it. Some people were just smarter about it. They knew the kind of thing that we would get in the future, but at the time, really all you were doing is farming Silent Constructor, which is not a good set. It's only good in Luke Normals, so it's like a set that, it's a legendary set, but it doesn't do anything. And the only thing I did it for maybe the first month or so, just so I can get the Luke card. And so once I enchanted my Civ earrings on my Babylonian symbol, I was like, well, I guess I'm done. I don't really need anything out of Luke Normals, so I stopped doing Luke Normals. I mention all of that because now there is very, very good reason to do both Anton and Luke Normals, okay, because you can upgrade your Luke Raid stuff faster if you do it. And now I'm kind of playing catch up right now, okay, because I don't have enough light sources to buy these Silent Constructor pieces, which all of a sudden, you know, even today they're not good pieces, but they are great pieces to upgrading into your Luke sets, your Heblon sets, I should say. Your Heblon sets are much drastically reduced in cost. You can take away so many Minoleums from the cost. Where it would normally cost 300 before this update, now it only costs 240. So you're basically saving 60 Minoleum, which is huge. That's a lot of farming because you can only do 2 Luke raids a week, you know, and so you could get, nowadays you can only get, you know, 10 at the minimum. You know, so you're saving yourself 6 weeks right there at the maximum. You could get really lucky. So, and even before that, you know, where 3 was the minimum, you could have saved yourself way more than that. We're talking more along the lines of like 10 weeks, right? Because say you get the lowest rolls of Minoleums, you'd only get 6 a week. You're saving yourself 60 Minoleums, dude. This is a big number. Getting 60 Minoleums, if you farm Minoleums, is not an easy thing to do. It takes a long time, several weeks, months. And it's made a lot easier with the raid reworks as well. I don't want to just focus on the normal dungeons. Yes, the raids are easier as well. They're giving more rewards mostly for the Luke. They're just giving more Minoleums every time. The minimum roll is like 5 and the maximum is like 15. So it's like way better than 3 and 10 before. Same thing with Anton. You know, you're getting your saviors like that. I've already seen so many people in the guild just get savior boxes and now they don't have to worry about their savior weapon. You know, it's just crazy how much they've reduced it. You know, and just getting red rocks, getting, you know, Anton soul fragments and stuff like that is way easier. So people are going to be getting their Antons a lot faster now, which is really nice. And I kind of mentioned this in the update video, but it seems as though all of these kind of changes, I mean, are pushing us towards the direction of getting us to end game content faster and accelerating our end game content. Now, I'm not going to say that you're going to be at the end game and have all the best in slot gear in like a few weeks, okay? They've made it maybe twice as good, or maybe, you know, let's say 75% as good as it used to be, but you're still going to need to put in a lot of effort every week. Now, that being said, you may not have to put as much effort as you had to in the past, because one of the best things, and personally my favorite, is the idea of being able to funnel resources onto one character. And how they've done this is they've done it in a currency called the Fateful Determination. And basically all of the raid content, I'm talking Anton and Luke and the solo versions for both of them, are giving Fateful Determinations, which are an item that you can basically just use to convert into demon invitations directly. So instead of getting demon invitations and epic soul fragments directly, you're getting Fateful Determination at a consistent amount every time. And so what you can do now is just play a character who can do raid, and once once you do raid, whether it be solo or in an actual raid, you get rewarded in the Faithful Determination. And so you can, the Faithful Determination is an account-bound resource, and you can just go onto your alt or whatever character you want to actually open the demon invitations on, and you can use your alternate characters to funnel resources onto your main, which is, there's a cap. There's like, you can only get 8 boxes per week, but trust me, it doesn't even take that many Faithful Determinations. In fact, this week, I didn't even have the full 2,000, I think, because you can only get 2,000 Faithful Determination a week. It's kind of their weekly limitation, but I didn't even have that many, and I was able to buy that box on like 5-6 different characters. Like, I just dumped tons of resources, and I didn't do, I didn't even play on those other characters. That's kind of the cool thing, is that I don't have to play on those characters, say they're like really weak, but I want to get them epics and stuff, then fuck that, I don't even have to play them. I just play my mains, my real strong characters, and then dump resources onto the weaker ones, or vice versa. Play the semi-good ones and dump more resources onto your main. It's really a lot more cohesive of a system, because it kind of worked like that in the past, but what happened was the resources got dumped onto the character itself. And so if you wanted to do hells, you had to play the character that you wanted the resources on, or you play alts and then do hells, and then you get, the back flush of resources that way. It's just a shitty way. I'm really happy that this is probably my favorite change out of everything. If they didn't change all the other rates and making it easier and all of that shit, this is the one thing that I'm like, oh, thank God. Because essentially, if you only want to gear out a few characters, you really don't need to do as many raids as you did in the past. I mean, you really only need to do enough raids to cover the cost every week of Faithful Determinations, of purchasing the box, which is 8 boxes. You just need to buy 8 boxes every week, and then if you only want to do, gear up one character, then that's all you need every week. Maybe go ham on one week and then not have to do any raids the next week, and you'll still get all the DI that you should. So it's really great. I love that. It's my favorite feature. And like I said, if they changed nothing else about the raids, that's the one thing I'm like, oh, thank God. It finally gives a reason why you can make alts now, raid-ready alts. Because I would be honest with you, if you don't want to play a character, why would you do him into raid? Why would you bring him into raid? Well, the reason was clear in the past. You kind of had to, because, the resources were split per the character, and you had to, do hells on that character, hope to disassemble some epics or get some epic souls, and then that way you can fund your other characters. Now it just kind of makes sense to more focus on those characters. So that's my favorite change by far. Other stuff that we got, Luke hard mode. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm scared. I'm scared of Luke hard mode, because yes, we'll be talking about Beast Dungeon, but Luke hard is harder than that. I truly believe it. It is way harder than Beast on the hard difficulty, because the thing about Beast is that it's as hard as it's ever going to be, even at the lowest difficulty. Okay, and it's hard, don't get me wrong, it's like the second hardest content, but the thing about Luke hard is that on top of it being hard, it's cheap. It's fucking cheap. It's like, they amplify the gimmicks to a point where it's just like, this is not something that you just get good at. This is something that you have to really, really get good at, and you have to be geared as fuck. It's just like, unlike Beast, where you can be very, very weak but outplay the boss and just outlast the boss by avoiding all of his gimmicks, this is stuff where you have to be really, really, really strong and really, really, really good at practicing these gimmicks, and you don't even get chances to practice. You don't get a retry if you fail, unlike normal raids. So it's just hard to practice against it right now. Beast right now is pretty easy to practice against, and Luke hard is fucking hard. So mad credit to the people who have, I have seen people clear this thing already, but it looks very challenging. I would say it's the hardest content in the game right now, and there's good reason to do it. Personally, I hope to at some point get to the point where, maybe when I get Heblon and everybody gets enchanted and everybody's good to go, we can start challenging Luke hard mode. But basically, the reason that you do it, there are greater rewards in Minoleum and stuff like that, but the main thing for me is the kind of prestige that comes with it. There's a lot of different prestige things that, like your character party invitation thing. When you send an invite to a party, you get like a little box that comes up. You can customize that. Your party window at the top, where it shows all the HP bars, that one has a little customization that's different from everyone else's. It's just a way to make your character more, I think it's a character bound thing. It makes your character more prestigious overall. So it's just like, oh shit, this guy did Luke hard mode, that kind of stuff. So it's the same thing with the Pro Radian that they did. There was I think they gave one of those away where only the top people got the Pro Radian symbol thing, and I was pissed off that I didn't get it, but maybe next year, boys. But you kind of get it, guys. It's just prestige stuff. It has nothing to do. It has no like real world value. It's kind of like damage fonts, you know. So it's like, oh, that guy has that damage font. Well, you know, just something different. And I love that. In fact, in KDNF, I've just kind of touched on it, but in KDNF, there's this thing called like the skin safe, and basically it's a safe where you can put all of your aesthetic items like this, like your skin for your damage font, the party invite skin, the party icon skin. All of those skins are going in their safe, and from there you can access all of those at once. And it's just like DFO's finally getting into the customization game, where you know, other games have done this already. I don't want to talk on MapleStory 2, but they kind of have this feature in MapleStory 2 where it's just like there's all kinds of ways to customize your account, and I really like that they have that feature, and they're finally releasing items to make your account more prestigious. But anyway, guys, a little bit more about the current content right now. We did not get Coliseum Mode, okay? So I did want to mention we didn't get Coliseum Mode. A lot of people were expecting it. I was expecting it initially before I heard on the stream that they didn't even talk about it at all. So I was like, oh shit, we're not getting it. But basically, Coliseum is a way to upgrade your level 90 non-set gear into 90 set gear, which is more than likely when you're doing Hells at the 90 cap, you're going to be getting a lot of non-set pieces. And, you know, if you had this feature, you would be finishing 90 sets a lot easier. The problem is you kind of need a little bit of time, obviously, like anything in this game, you need a little bit of time to cultivate the item to be able to, you know, participate in this feature. But that's the thing, when they don't release the content, we're kind of on a time limit now. You know, it's just like, okay, you know, we're getting closer to 95 cap. This 90 stuff will soon become irrelevant, you know, so it's kind of, it would be nice to have this stuff earlier rather than later, where you're not just gonna say, fuck it, it's not worth it now. Because the 90 cap stuff, I'm not saying it's not worth it to get 90 sets, because 90 sets are so strong. 95 sets are definitely going to be better, but you kind of need a lower level set to kind of transition into the 95 set, you know? It's going to be really challenging to try to get a 95 set without having all of this stuff to make it easier for yourself. And considering a lot of people are just waiting for that content update just to be able to do it, it should be coming sooner rather than later. I have seen some people mention, oh, well, you know, if it comes out soon, then you'll still have plenty of time to be able to participate in it. But you want to kind of use that 90 set stuff like before the content even comes. You want to get into Luke. You want to do Luke solos. Hopefully you're doing Luke solos anyway, but you know, you want to try to get ahead of the game when it comes to that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hopefully it comes really soon, because I don't know if it's gonna be dead content after 95 cap comes out, because I'm pretty sure people are gonna be doing Dawn Rift and getting their legendaries, their area legendaries, and upgrading those. Are they gonna be worried about the 90 cap, and is Coliseum gonna be kind of like Dark Elf Ruins? That's kind of my thing. Is it's like, oh shit, people aren't gonna, Neopol's not going to see a reason to have this thing open anymore. And I wanted to participate in it because I do have some 90 set pieces that I do want to get that would help me do Anton and Luke solo a lot easier. That's kind of my goal, is that I want all my characters to be able to do Luke solo. And right now they're like in 85 sets, but if I could just get a 90 set, this would be a lot easier. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. It's just hopefully they don't wait till the last second and then totally blow their chance, because I think this is a good opportunity to give us a good damage boost before 95 cap comes. But guys, the last thing that we got to talk about, let's talk about that Beast Dungeon, man. Let's talk about that Beast Dungeon. Personally, you know, if I was to give it a grade, I say this is A+ content. This is okay, A content. I love Beast Dungeon, man. The first 2 days I did not stream Beast content because I knew this is going to be the time where I'm going to get shit on for not knowing what the fuck I'm doing. And that's kind of the thing, right? It doesn't really, I always talk about this. I always value, there's no substitute for experience, right? There is no substitute. You could sit there and read an encyclopedia of knowledge on the Beast Dungeon. But when you finally get in there, when you're finally thrown into the field, how are you going to perform? There is no substitute for that. Okay, so it didn't matter. I read up on it. I was like, okay, I know all the gimmicks. I know the attacks. And like 10 seconds in, boom, dead. Resurrected, boom, dead again. Like, whoa, shit. They didn't tell me that, you know, I could still die without even being an orb being on me or something lasering covered from across the screen. There was a lot of these nuances that you have to learn of, and it took the first couple days. The third day, I was pretty confident that I would do pretty well. Still died a few times, but Beast content, man, it was fun. You could probably hear it in my voice. I have a smile on my face because it was a fun experience. I don't know about my guildies. Some of them were getting pretty frustrated, but for me, dying is not, you know, failing and dying is not something that that's a bad thing. It's a fun thing for me because it's been so long since we've had to struggle, okay? And not self-induced struggle like I did for Luke, because we struggled in Luke too. I mean, we made it to the last second every time. Same thing with Beast. We struggle pretty heavily, and since you only have one life and there is no, like, the thing about it is you got to play perfectly. You gotta play well, or you're just gonna be dead weight. There's no like extra lives. There's no, oh, let's retry it. It's like, dude, we got 3 chances. We get 3 chances, and we got to learn in those 3 chances. I think, like I said, it'll just take you the first couple days if you're doing it on a couple characters, but yeah, you need some experience. And sure, the knowledge will help get some knowledge on, you know, the various gimmicks. In fact, I'm thinking because it's such a straightforward dungeon, it's not like it's not hard. It's pretty straightforward. I think I might make a guide video on it because it's something that I think is easy enough to make. It won't take me, it won't be like raid stuff where I gotta explain everything. I just gotta explain these certain attacks, and that's kind of the thing about this Beast Dungeon. And why I said earlier, this content is as hard as it's ever gonna be at the lowest difficulty, okay? So if you do the highest difficulty, okay, it goes from King, Slayer to the Beast difficulty. The only difference between the 3 difficulties are, well, first of all, I did notice the door is at a different location for whatever reason on the Beast difficulty, but aside from that, the only real difference is the HP, and so it's like a gear check. So if you do it on King, it's not really any different from Beast, aside from the fact that it's just going to take you several times. You need to do several times more damage to do it in the same amount of time. So yes, you're going to be fighting the Beast longer, more than likely, and you need a hell of a lot more gear. I did, this is kind of my fault, but on the stream I did Slayer difficulty because we knew the gimmicks and we were not dying. But the thing is, my Satyr was so whack that, you know, it made the fight 27 minutes long because my Satyr just was not up to snuff when it comes to actually being a buff Satyr. I was wearing all of my battle Satyr stuff because I only had a DI swap, and that's it. No APOC or nothing, no epics for support. So yeah, my buffs were weak, and so it took us 27 minutes. I'll tell you what, we cleared it though, so but 27-minute freaking Beast, and that's because you're just not strong enough. So we lasted for 27 minutes, but you know, dude, you gotta be stronger than that. So that's kind of the thing about it, and that's kind of why I like it, because it's hard. You know, it's do the lowest difficulty, it's still gonna be pretty challenging if you don't know what's going on. So my gripes with it, okay, so the thing about Beast, I'm not really explaining it very much, but really they're just these bosses that have these various gimmicks, and personally, I find that the more complicated the gimmick, the more fun it is, you know. The more things that are liable to kill you and the things that could go wrong, it makes it more satisfying when you kind of play it correctly and you do it right and you do it as a unit and cohesively. And I think the first half of the fight, which is the first boss, is Annie. I find her to be a much more fun mini boss, okay? There is so much onus, like so much responsibility thrown on P1 and 2 that it's just like, dude, if they die, this shit gets really bad really fast. And I really kind of like that, where there's like this like huge risk if any of these first 2 members are fucking up, you know. So, you know, yes, it does put a lot of pressure on those guys, but at the same time, if it does go to shit, it starts transitioning to the other members, party 3 and 4, and I like that about it, because it makes it so that if you want to still succeed without that 1 and 2 slot member, everybody in the party needs to know how to do the gimmicks, you know. And so it's a complicated gimmick, a relatively complicated gimmick, but it's a lot more involved than it is for Hyro, which is the second boss, which is my main gripe with it. I think Hyro is just way too easy, and the things, honestly, I think it's more possible to die on Hyro, but that's only because his basic attacks, his non-gimmick attacks, are just so like unpredictable, and they're just fast. It's like he has this basic attack swing where if you're behind him and you're doing damage, if you're doing chain rush like I am, he's just gonna turn around and hit you in the face, and it's just like, what? I didn't know he was gonna do that, and I'm dead. So the gimmick attacks that he has one that is lethal, and if you're a cohesive unit and you know what's going on, you'll never die from it. None of the other attacks are gonna hit you. It's just like there's no real risk for Hyro. The only risk is you getting swapped in the face all of a sudden, which is kind of a cheap way to die anyway. So I do love the Annie fight. I wish the whole fight was Annie. In fact, I wish Annie was even more complicated, because that would be even more fun. But there's that threat of dying every single time one of those orbs comes out, and it's kind of fun that different party members have different roles. Party 1, for instance, the position 1 has a different role than position 2, and they have different methods of dealing with the gimmick. So when they die, say 1 or 2 dies, that role kind of shifts over to the next two leftmost players. So say position 1 died, then position 2 would actually have to take the role of position 1, and position 3 would take the role of position 2. So it's kind of like, oh shit, you got to think about that right on the spot. So I like that, but I wish it was even more complicated, honestly. So yeah, that's like I said, I'm probably thinking about making a guide on that, but it's definitely a whole lot of fun. I like the Beast Dungeon. I like some of that stuff where I don't think it's ever gonna get like brain dead easy. I think Luke is the kind of content that gets really brain dead easy when you just get stronger. But when you get stronger in Beast content, what can you do? Well, you can just increase the difficulty, and now it's not going to be as easy, and it's going to be just as hard as it was, when you were weak and you were doing the regular king difficulty. So it's something that scales well, and the difficulty, like I said, doesn't have to change just because it's higher level like it is for Luke hard mode. So I like it. I think it's good stuff. We'll have to get stronger to do the higher difficulties and get better rewards, more efficiency. Let me tell you, it's also really expensive, okay? If it weren't for this event, it'd take us up to 300 Seeds of Birth per day. Now, the nice thing about it is there's a new daily from oh yeah, I forgot his name. There's a new daily from Jonathan where he actually trades you for 3 Terranium. He gives you 210 Seeds of Birth. So that's a daily. You can pick that up every day. And so that you can kind of, throughout the week, you can properly prepare for Beast Mode by getting all the Seeds of Birth that you need. But then you also need 150k. So you need a lot of materials. You need a lot of Seed of Birth. And so you are trying to avoid failing so you don't have to keep redoing it because it gets really expensive. The nice thing is, right now we currently have event buy one, get one free for the Beast Dungeon. So that kind of makes it really nice for practicing and allowing yourself to fail. But if you keep failing, if you have to do 3 runs of every single week, it's going to cost a lot. So that's kind of the drawback, is that Seeds of Birth are a pivotal item that you're going to need now to do Beast. But yeah, aside from that, guys, that's current stuff that we got. Look out for Beast. Look out for Beast content on this channel. In terms of the guide video I kind of want to do on it. And hell yeah, if you're Luke ready, if you're doing Luke raid, then I think you're already Beast ready, okay? So it's not that hard. You can do it on the King difficulty. Don't feel like you have to do it on the higher difficulties if you're not strong enough. You really need a real composition to do it anything higher than the King difficulty. You need a true like support, satyr, and real deeps, maybe even 3 supports or 2 supports and 1 deeps. Like the more supports the better. Like you need a real composition if you do anything higher than the King difficulty. The King difficulty you can probably do without a satyr if you're strong enough. So King difficulty is like free for all for everybody, but when you get higher than that, you need a real composition, some real damage. So just keep that in mind and farm up your Seeds of Birth because you need a lot of that. But yeah, it's nice to get some new and hard content like that. Alright guys, let's quickly touch on the future content that we're going to be getting, and this is actually coming next week, okay? Like in less than a week we're going to be getting the Jump server, okay? Jump server, how this is going to work. Okay, there's going to be, if you guys were here for when there was a seasonal server, basically it is in a separate server from the main server, okay? So you're not going to have any resources that you get from the main server. There's going to be rules imposed on you in this Jump server that are different than the normal, and like I said, you're not going to be getting all the benefits and perks that you have for joining the regular server. That's why they want to keep it separate. And the reason for that is the Jump server is a way for you to kind of cultivate yourself in epic set. You get an epic level 85 set, like 12 out of 12 or 11 out of 12. You get everything level 85. I think minus the earrings. I don't know if they're going to give you earrings, but so make it 10 out of 12. And then you get a level 90 weapon as well. So that's 11 out of 12 epics that you get from the Jump server, which is, it's free. And you get to choose which ones that you want. Now, I think the way somebody explained it is that you're basically going to have to, there's going to be like an epic book system. And so you have to do like these various tasks. I don't know if they're tasks or if you're doing some kind of dungeon, but you're basically building up your epic book, and then you're allowed to pick one set from the book and bring it over to the main server. So you're basically putting all that stuff on that one character, and then you're allowed to bring that one character over to the main server. So that's kind of how it works. It's just a roundabout way of me saying you play this other server on one character, and you're allowed to bring back on that character a level 85 set, a 10 out of 12 set, and a level 90 epic weapon. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Kind of how it worked in KDNF. So like I said, there's no details yet, so I might be wrong on that, but we'll find out in like 7 days. But basically, this is forcing people to think really, really hard, okay? Because, and me included, I'm not saying this is an easy task at all, because I already have all the characters in the game, and it's kind of like disconcerting, because I have all the characters on the game and it's like clear that I do, like, you know, that's been my goal forever, and now I'm gonna have to make a duplicate of one of those characters. It's gonna fuck up the equilibrium I have right now, and they're not even gonna have a costume and all of that. Some people, I would assume most people are gonna be able to replace one of their old characters with this new jump server character, because they haven't really invested too much, and now they're gonna be able to invest a whole 11 out of 12 set on them really easily. So it'd be easy to replace those characters. In my case, and I would assume for a lot of people as well, I've already invested a lot in terms of avatars and titles and pets and stuff that is not tradable. I've already invested a lot of in auras, especially. Oh shit, I spent so much money on auras, but I've already invested all of those things, and those are things you can't get anymore. They're exclusive because they're untradeable. So it's kind of out of the question. I'm not going to replace any of my characters. I don't care how weak they are, because they have this kind of stuff that I just mentioned. So I'm definitely going to be making a character that I'm not going to replace. It's going to be an extra character of one of the characters on my account. So that's kind of, I'm limiting the characters that I have. And again, like I said, this might be different thought process for your character, but it's kind of how it is for me, and so it's making it really hard. I've seen several threads already asking about what they suggest they should do, right? And everybody's thinking the same thing, so it's not like they're the only ones thinking about it. But with the jump server, there's kind of two ways of thought with it. One is to, okay, let me make a character that's going to survive into the 90 cap. Let me make a character that no matter what I get on them, even if I don't play them, once 95 cap comes out, they're going to be ready and good to go, and they're going to be effective. And that's a smart way to look at it, right? You don't want to make a character and then it dies out come 95 cap, like, oh shit, this character's now useless, right? I'm never going to play it again. So that's one way to look at it. And the other way to look at it is, let me abuse the character as much as I can before 95 cap, and make it something like a farmer. Okay, so I'm going to make a character who's really fast and good at farming. And so I can just use it to, not really in preparation for a 95 cap, but really in abusing 90 cap, right? In abusing whatever, making runs in Grandine. I know I hate fucking Grandine, but either Grandine or Times Square or something like that, or Bloody Lane, make those runs really quick and abuse him in 90 cap. So the last option is, let me make a character who can do raid really easily, who can get into raid easily and can be effective in the highest end game raids, that's like the last, probably what most people are going to use it for, is let me make a raid ready character, like Luke raid ready character. And that is definitely possible, and not every class can do it, right? You're kind of limiting yourself on, like, okay, well, like if you want to be Luke raid ready, you need to, and you want to be accepted into every raid, you need to make only certain classes. Okay, you need to make like a some kind of synergy type character, you know, Inquisitor, Paladin. You need to get a tactical leader. You need to very specifically suit that character towards that need. There are some problems with all three of those things, obviously. Like, for instance, what I just mentioned right there, making a raid ready character, right? Getting tactical leader, playing Paladin, FNN, or whatever, Inquis with a tactical set. You're not going to have the level 85 weapon. You're not going to have a chance to get the level 85 weapon, which the 85 weapons are the real synergy weapons, okay? The level 90 weapons, none of them hardly are synergy weapons, okay? You're not going to have that luxury. Destruction, Yang Wu's Twig, Wu Yu's, all of that shit is 85. So you're not going to have that option. You're not going to be as good as other people who are decked out in 85 and actually support, but you're going to be pretty decent with tactical and shit like that. The people who are preparing for 95 cap are kind of the same people who are preparing for farming, honestly, because the people who are preparing for farming are making a really overkill farming character, up to the point where I believe they're the same as the people who are preparing for 95 cap, okay? So I'm kind of grouping them together because you are making a very strong farming character. I don't care what character you're playing, you're going to be ready for 95 cap, okay? Because if you have a set, both armor, accessory, and a level 90 weapon, dude, you're ready for 95 cap. I don't care what character you're playing, you are way stronger than the average person who's just farming Econ and shit like that, because you have full sets. You're going to be more than ready for 95 cap, and it's going to be really easy to do. And quite frankly, I think you're going to be so strong that farming is just something secondary you can do. In fact, I think you're going to be strong enough to do raid as well. At least Luke solo should be doable if you have an 85 set and a 90 weapon. So no, I don't think every class can get into Luke raid, because now, especially now with everybody joining the jump server, everybody's going to have this pocket character who has an 85 epic set and a 90 weapon. So it's not going to be very special. They're going to be very selective in the people that they pick up. They're going to want some of those support characters, those synergy characters, to kind of coincide with these stronger deeps. But you should definitely, no matter what character that you play, you should be able to do, if you're a DPS class, Luke solo mode with that set, those sets, you know, having an armor and accessory set as well as a 90 weapon. You should definitely be able to do it if you have that. In fact, I have most of my characters who are doing Luke have an 85 armor set and a 6-piece econ set on the right side, which honestly I don't think is all that powerful. It's okay, but and a crafted weapon, like that's more than good enough to do this kind of content solo. If you're a synergy class, you might find it a little bit harder, like Paladin. If you're not mega powerful, you can't. It's harder to do Luke solos, but you're a synergy class, so you can do Luke raid. So it's kind of like this jump server is boosting your characters to levels that are stronger than what you might think. That's all I'm saying here, is that you don't have to focus, oh man, this character is not going to survive into 95 cap. You have an armor, accessory, and a 90 weapon. You're going to make it in 95 cap. You're going to make it in solo raid, and depending on what class you are, you're going to make it into Luke raid with that character. Okay, so don't worry about that. What you should really focus on, honestly, is what character you actually want to play, okay? I think some people are going to make the mistake, for sure, they're going to make a character that they don't really feel like they want to play. Like they're going to make a Paladin because they know that Paladin gets into raid, but they don't want to play Paladin. They're going to make a Crusader. There's going to be a lot of you guys making Crusaders out there. What I'm trying to say is, don't make a character just for the sake of preparing for a 95 cap, or just for the sake of preparing for getting a character to get into Luke. Play a character you want to play. And I've said this from the very start because it's very easy to just waste your character. If you're not going to want to play him, you're not going to want to do these raids, or you're going to force yourself to do these raids. You're going to force yourself to play a character you don't want to play. And trust me, it's going to be way, way worse when you realize that character's way stronger than most of the other characters on your account because he has sets, and you're even more compelled to play that character, right? It's not only that you're playing a character you don't like, this character is stronger than most of the other characters. It's more viable. It's really going to drain you if you're forcing yourself. So the most important thing, and I've said it so many times before, play the character you want to play. And we'll enjoy playing. Easy as that. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer at this point since I say it for everything, but it really is true. Okay, it's a secret to my longevity in this game. Okay, don't burn yourself out by gearing up shit you don't want to play and by playing shit you don't want to play. Like, dude, it's as easy as that. Okay, guys. So anyway, guys, let's talk about the last topic, guys, and that is the controversy. It's not a controversy. It's just a topic that was brought up, but it received a lot of responses. Sometimes on Reddit, you know, there are threads. You know, once the question's answered, the thread is dead. You know, but this was a real provocative one because a lot of people talked about it. It was the popular or overhyped classes that you never understood or saw the appeal of. And there's a lot of classes in this game, guys. There's 59 classes. I've played them all myself, in fact. And, you know, I kind of like how this thread is worded because it's kind of like a low-key way for you to kind of diss on other people's classes without seeming like an asshole, you know? So, of course, whenever I say shit like this against a class, I'm you just bully or whatever. But, you know, that's bullshit. But, like I said, this is kind of the benefit of playing so many classes that I do because it's not just me talking out of what I assume. This is actually kind of how I feel, and it's kind of reassuring that other people kind of feel the same way. I just truly believe that some classes are built better than others. There was more time in their development, and the thing that they intended to do was much more fleshed out and thought out. I can't help but feel like sometimes Neopol is kind of catering to like the casual crowd, the types of people that they suspect would play the character. Like, good example, and this one showed up on the thread. Good example is the Savior. The Savior is one of my main characters, but it almost feels like they knew people who wanted to just be a support slave. They knew that those types of players were just like noobs. Those characters who just wanted to be a potion. I call Savior a potion because all she is a 25% damage buff. Otherwise, she can just fuck off and die because she has nothing else that she really gives. Yes, a speed buff, but honestly, you're there for the damage buff and then you can fuck off. Like, you're a potion. You're literally an attack damage potion, a skill damage potion. So it's just like when they make classes like that and you really have no other use, it really just goes to show that some other characters are much better designed. That's how I feel. But let's go ahead and talk about, or just kind of mention, I've kind of listed out the characters of which people have mentioned in this thread, and I'll just give a little bit of thought. Elementalist, I can kind of see, because she doesn't really play like any of the other characters in the game, and in the low levels, she actually is miserable. I kind of said this about Ultimate Diva and the Grappler, but the Grappler back in the day was miserable, like awful to play. And trust me, they've changed female Grappler twice, like overhauled her completely. She no longer plays the same. She's a lot better now than she was back in the day. And the thing about Elementalist is she kind of feels the same way before she gets her second awakening. She is so fucking awful until she gets that. So I do have a Blitz video already made on Elementalist. I leveled one up pretty quickly, but it was only after I got my second awakening that she was not Hitler to play. So that's kind of the thing. I feel like Battle Mage is kind of the same way, where she feels really slow and clunky, but once you get some speed and get some gear, she's actually a lot more fluid. I love Battle Mage. I actually really like Battle Mage a lot. She shares a lot of similarities to Elven Knight. She's very fluid, and I like her. The only thing I don't like is her Tiana transformation. Way overrated. Limits so many of your skills that are just kind of on, ready to be used, but you can't use them because you're in your transformation, and you're not very strong. Maybe I'm not doing it right, but Tiana is just, the second awakening, Astarte awakening, is way stronger because you have access to your skills. You're not limiting your skills while they're sitting there ready to be used, So Tiana, I hate Tiana, but aside from that. So those are kind of the weak hitters. Here, let's talk about some of the biggest ones that everybody seemed to agree on. Okay, first is Chaos. Somebody mentioned like, oh, I usually like playing summoning classes, but this one, it wasn't for me. The Chaos. Honestly, I think the Chaos is one of those secret stinger classes that a lot of people play, but they won't admit they play. But I think a lot of people are finally realizing that Chaos is a one-trick pony. She has, if it's not for her one-hitter quitter, then she really is just kind of standing around. I mean, you can use skills, or you could not use skills. It's pretty much the same thing. It's a lot of that going on. So yes, you do get Genocide, which is an awesome one-shot attack, but at the same time, it's really kind of boring. Especially, I'm going to say it's a lot better now that I don't have to sit there and summon all the guys one at a time, and I can just press a button. That is one of the changes that came with this update. I can just press the button, and I got two new skills that are kind of like magic laser type attacks. One's an AoE, one's a laser. But aside from that, we're just kind of sitting there in front of the guy until they die if we're not using the Genocide. So there you go. I guess it's just kind of like there's not much to it. Next is the Witch. I'm surprised. The comment that they said about Witch. Only XD I'm so wonky people play that class. That's kind of funny, and the thing about it is, it's kind of true. There's like, I know for a fact there's like this witch community, right? And they're all like the same type of player. They're all the big memers, and they own up to the memes with that character. So it's kind of funny. I think Witch is a perfectly aesthetically designed character because she's so unique. You can just tell from the way her animations go to the kinds of shit that kind of happen by accident. Sometimes you can confuse yourself with your attack. Her dash attack, she falls on the ground. Her awakening actually freaking blows her up and knocks her down. Like, it's crazy. I love the design about the character. But yeah, maybe that kind of gets on other people's nerves. I like that, but the funny thing is, it's kind of reaching past the computer screen. It's going past the computer screen. It's encapsulating the people who are behind it now. And so the memers and shit, that it really is. It truly is. That is not a bad assessment of people who play Witch very religiously. It's kind of funny. The biggest three, though, okay, the biggest three. I'm surprised Elven Knight didn't make it on the list. Somebody mentioned Elven Knight, but this was only in relation to Monk, okay? Somebody brought up Monk, and they said, oh, Monk is an overrated character, and I think for matching what the subject of this thread was, I think Monk really is one of those characters where people put it on a high pedestal for very little, but I don't think it's unwarranted, okay? I still think that Monk is one of the hardest characters to play. Now, some people are just going to sit here and be like, all you have to do is duck and sway. Well, it's not how many things that determine how hard something is. I think that duck and sway is the hardest thing to master in this game. because it requires very, very precise movement, okay? Just because you know how to duck and sway and even jump cancel does not mean you're good at it, okay? I'm saying really good at it. The skill ceiling with the duck and swaying and the jump canceling is added, like, really, it is not easy to do, okay? So just because you can do it does not mean you can do it every time. It takes a lot of muscle memory, and there's a lot of different combinations with your fingers that you have to do that, and you have to do it well, and you have to do it with precision every single time to be able to get the movement that you can with Monk. So that's why people put it on a pedestal. But I do think that he's put on a larger pedestal than other characters. It's kind of like he's overshadowing the complexity of other characters because of this one thing. But I think if you're one of those people who are just so good at Monk, you've been playing him for 3 years now straight, then this is going to seem easy to you, right? Because it's, oh, what is it? It's just ducks, cancel with C, and sway. That's it. That ain't easy. Nobody who just picks up Monk can be able to play Monk at a higher level, at that high level. It took you a lot of time to learn how to do that. You can't just pick it up, and you're not going to be able to pick it up just within, not even a week. It might take you a long time to learn how to do it. But yeah, I can kind of understand. Aside from that, the character is really easy to play. He has 4 different moves that come out of the duck or sway, and all of them are relatively easy to do. Aside from that, he's pretty dang straightforward, but the movement is really what sets him apart. So it's understandable why he's put on this pedestal, and people don't understand why, but I really do think that skill ceiling is so high that it makes it kind of warrants it. Now, the biggest ones, the ones that even I agree with, is the FNN and the Savior. They're so overhyped. It's not, they kind of suffer the same kind of problem that Crusader has. It's not so much that they're overhyped and you don't know why. They're overhyped, and we know why. It's because their fucking buffs are too good. But the classes themselves, I'm going to agree with everybody else on this. The classes themselves, if you were to play them for any amount of time, suck. They're badly designed, and this is going back to what I was saying earlier when I started this discussion. This is a problem of the characters, of I think Neopol, knowing that the characters are designed in this manner. They have a buff, the synergy buff that buffs up the whole party, but the types of people that they would assume play this type of character, which is only a potion, I swear, I'm telling you, Savior is a fucking potion. The people who would play a potion character are the people who wouldn't want to have any kind of complicated system to worry about. They just want to hit their buff and fucking go brain dead for the next 2 minutes until the buff has to be recast. Or you don't have to recast it. If somebody dies, recast it. It really is a shame, I think, that Neopol took characters like Savior and made her as brain dead as she is. Same thing with FNN. FNN is a little bit more involved, but she doesn't have to be, and really, it's just I think it's a product of Neopol trying to cater to people who would play the character. It was so easy for Neopol to use the feather system that Savior has and make an awesome character out of it. Have you actually think about the, double down on her support or synergy kind of aspect, okay? Make it so that she can use the feathers to cause debuffs, amplified buffs. Use the feathers in some way. Make it so that you can generate feathers by using any of your skills, and you can expend your feathers using any other skills, and now you have a very complicated system where rotations and skill choice and selection of skills that you use are now important. But now it's almost to the point where you can literally either just have a support set and just stand near an enemy and debuff them that way, or just, buff and die and that's it. It's so shitty that they kind of have Savior as she is. It kind of sucks because I only play I main knight characters. I love knights. I'm going to love my Savior to the death, but she is a little derpy. She does have a little bit of the tism going on there, and it's not much I can do to help that Neopol is being so, I don't understand why they can't just make it a little bit more complex to play, have a little bit more involvement in the class and the things that you do on the class. Even if you want to have her be a support or a synergy type character and you don't want her to do any damage, cooldowns is another thing that makes her really bad. She has really huge hard-hitting skills that have massive cooldowns. But aside from that, make it so that she's actually a real synergy character, one that has to work to get the synergy going. It doesn't have to be too hard, but the feathers are a perfect example of a system that could have been, and it really isn't now, because you have one skill that gives you fucking feathers and one buff that the feathers give. You could have all the skills give feathers, and all the skills have something that the feathers give differently depending on what skill you use. So it's just that in and of itself would make the character a lot more fun to play, a lot more deliberate, and I think I've mentioned this on several occasions, but Savior, it's a shame Savior is the way she is. But anyway, guys, I've been talking for an hour now. I think I'm good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the little shield thing I made. I don't know why I made that. Just something to be on the screen so it's not just my little JoJo background like I usually have. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. There was a little bit of Arad Airways podcast. And I will catch you nights later.